They'd be strolling across a field in virtual reality talking about what was happening with the girlfriend or the boyfriend or how you're looking after your kids. And, oh, hang on a second. Well,
1 minute we're talking about masking fluid, and the next it's like, so what are your dreams? And
what are you doing? Stop that. Wind back, because these are normal people. In the room, 52 Jokers Wild.
This is episode 75.
Don't give a date.
No, we're not giving a date. Not giving a date. No. It's all right. It's episode 75. We're reaching a milestone. It also happens to be, unfortunately, the week that we lose Dylan. And we've got Dylan on the show for the very first time. We managed to get him in here to see if he can cope with us two having a bit of a natter and a banter, as though we're lads down the pub having a drink. And I don't drink. I just drink orange juice. I'm boring. But there you go. That's the way it is. And what we thought we'd do is...
Designated driver, that's it.
Designated driver. I'm always a designated driver. I've got used to it. It's been inbred in me now, sort of thing. So my wife's happy with that kind of thing. So what we thought we'd try and do then is that normally we have a few key words and we would try and see what would come out of those kind of conversations. And we get little things that spark off kind of thing. Like I've got something here, it just says... art masking fluid. I don't know what you think about art masking fluid there, Garvin. It's just a bit of a random thing I've just picked up for watercolour. It's probably a load of
really
nonsense.
are going random.
We're really going random here. We're just going to see what we can actually get, because
we're playing.
Because we've just masked out Dylan's background with the green screen effect that we've applied, so we can try and get.
You're just playing lucky dip with the universe there. I honestly thought you'd have some idea of randomness with a certain amount of control. I can't even remember the three words you just said. It's like, masking fluid. And what was the first word?
Yeah.
What's the first word?
It's called the art masking fluid.
Well, let's go with the art of masking.
Masking, yeah.
And, that's what we're doing. The mask. I'm thinking of Zorro. I'm thinking of all the Marvel and DC shows I'm watching at the moment. And my daughter loves them, and I'm just sitting there going, well, here's the Flash again. He's going to run fast. We're 97 episodes in, and whatever he has to do, running fast is going to solve the problem. And they come up with astrophysics and multiverse this and nuclear, detonation anytime soon. And if he runs fast, can solve the problem. Actually, if he can run fast in his red leotard with his mask on, he can solve the problem. Now, what's even better is it reminded me of the early days of Superman and Clark Kent, and he's working in the office, and he takes his glasses off. He's Superman. He puts them back on. No one has a bloody clue who it is. I've never seen such nonsense in my life. And the same with all the DC characters. They're wearing a Halloween mask. They're Zorro, and I don't know who it is, and they're a foot and a half away from me. Are you taking the holy bejesus piss out of it? Who are these people? Who are the audience that they're so thick and blind they can't see who it is? Is it that? So I don't believe that simple little mask disguises all. Well, if it is that, I think we should get a pair of masks. And that's what we should do. And that's what we're going to do going forward. We're going to disguise who we are. We're going to enter the DC Marvel multiverse, and we're going to be incognito, in plain sight. And now we can get away with murder, because no one can tell what the hell it's about. Right, back to
the interesting thing there is we watched a TV show or a documentary on Netflix called Code Biased, and there was a young African-American girl who was going in to do a PhD, and she was really fascinated with facial recognition software, and so she started trying to do some experiments in the software didn't seem to recognize, and she went, oh, for goodness sake, what was going on here? What's the problem? And she had one of those kind of little white mask, the kind of, well, I don't know, forget the character that is, but it's just a white mask with eyes cut out, just plain blank, nothing. She put it on and it recognized her straight away. It recognized there was a face in front of it, and she took it off and it just went, there's no faces here. And it just kind of indicated the bias that were going on that some of the software won't recognize. And I think we've been talking about AI and all that. We love our sci-fi. Dylan, do you love sci-fi? We haven't really asked you that much, but do you like the sci-fi stuff? What sort of sci-fi would you watch if you watch sci-fi?
Yeah, no, I'd definitely be interested in sci-fi. I think I've probably, since I started editing your shows, definitely gotten more of an interest. It's something you talk about quite a lot, and it's something you're obviously passionate about. But in terms of Yeah, I wouldn't have watched any recently. I used to love sci-fi. I love any type of movie, realistically. So anything at all, I'd be interested in movie related.
No,
Is,
I'm
is,
going to jump in here, George, and go. You've started the sentence with a yes, no. You've answered with a non-answer of I like everything and nothing but anything and something, but I don't know what it is, but I'm not going to tell you. But I would watch it if I could see it, but I can't remember any sci-fi program ever that I like. Come on, give us a Daleks, give us Star Trek, give us Voyager.
well, actually, no. Let me
give us a program.
Let me continue on where I was going, because I think this is quite interesting, because we're the generation of television kids, and what I'm interested in is what kind of games do you play then? Is games, what kind of games do you play? Is it more games that you would play than watching television? I know that's a yes answer, but what kind of games would you play?
Would I play? Recently, I'd say during like this lockdown and pandemic, I would probably play a lot more games than I would be watching stuff, just because it's an easier way. Let's say if you want to play with friends, or usually it's a way to get that interaction back with people that I think a lot of people have taken it now, where they weren't into gaming before, and now they're just anything they can get their hands on. They're like, yeah, I'll try it out as long as I have someone to try it out with,
And it's the team. So I know I've watched my sons playing a few sort of combat game type thing, and they normally have about 4 or 5 people in there, and it's they would be talking to people in Germany, Scotland, France, right around the world. So tell us about your experiences then. What kind of games is it that you're playing, and how long would you spend on those games?
I'd spend too long on them games probably, but like you were talking about sci-fi. There's a lot of good sci-fi games as well that I've used to love, and I even play up to now. There's a game called No Man's Sky. There's a famous one called Mass Effect. There's loads. There's a lot of Star Wars games. I played a lot of them recently. I'm just any game that looks like it plays well, looks interesting. You have to try it out nowadays, because I think my storage on my computer is almost gone all the time. I'm always deleting and reinstalling. And
Now, I'm going to jump in, George, and go, because I'm observing from the outside and see every now and again. I was introduced to Minecraft by the kids, and then I started seeing 18-year-olds making a couple of million a year, talking shite at the screen, walking around in their underpants online, looking like a set of bricks, put the multicolored together, and going, what's going on here? What the hell? I thought it was bad enough. I'm reminded of Father Jack in Father Ted, and he's going, how did that feckin' Egypt get on the TV? But at the same time, the program that was there is, someone is making money. You're a user, you're a creator. My 10-year-old at the time was watching it, and it was just, when you listen to what was going on, nothing. It was nonsense. They were just talking. It wasn't even entertaining. They couldn't even make up words while walking around. Now it's a full narrated mini movie of walking around. Follow me. We're going to go on a hero's quest. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. And they're making millions. And there's millions of people viewing this. And there's EA Sports. And it's worth more than the movie cinemas put together. So we can play the game and we can have a little bit of light relief. We can create the game, or we can be this storyteller, narrator, super user, super creator within the game. Do you want to be a player, or do you want to be a viewer?
I think I know my youngest son, he started to get into that kind of streaming. There's something called Steam, and he was actually streaming on Steam some of the games play that he was having. And you've mentioned a short time ago this Clubhouse that seems to be more for executives, but in Steam, it seemed to be the gamers could actually come on as you were live streaming your game, and other people could comment on what you were doing, or ask for how do you solve certain problems and what's going on, and he could go off and demonstrate that kind of stuff. And that seemed to be the way. And it's that social interaction. And in many cases, it's probably not so much a conversation as you're saying there. Although I know my son in Canada, he would come online and he would play with my son here in Northern Ireland, and they'd be chatting about stuff, and then all of a sudden there'd be a crisis in the game, and they'd all sort of come together to rescue one of their partners, who'd just been shot, or they needed to pick up a whole load of goods to like guns and first aid packs, and then they'd go back into their normal as they're strolling across before the circle encloses around them. They'd be strolling across a field in virtual reality, talking about what was happening with the girlfriend or the boyfriend, or how you're looking after your kids. And oh, hang on a second, well, and then all right, we got that problem sorted out. So what were you saying about your wife? You know, and that's how the conversation would go on all evening. And then they'd say, all right, we better go out. We need to respawn into another game because we just got killed in that one. And they kind of go, oh. And that was the kind of game, that was their entertainment. And there wasn't so much the story. It was just there was a task set for them, and they had to try and achieve that task by the end of a set time. And that's, which I've got to keep watching the clock, because I haven't got any reference to any time at the moment in the way that we're recording this. So we could be talking for hours and not know it. But I think I've got a good gauge of where this show should end. So see how it goes.
It was over before it started, George. Never mind. You know, actually, I'm seeing the game again. You're playing the game, but it's not the. I am remembering my first game ever was a ZX81 computer, and it was literally the table tennis, the black bar going up and down the screen, and if you flicked it fast enough, you could hit the ball that'd go flying off the other side, and you could spend hours on that nonsense. Now, as you said, you go in, it's the Oasis. It's real time, real world, multiplayer, multiverse. There could be 100 people in there, kill them all, be last man standing, or as you said, they're in different areas of the game. The actual game maps are as big as some bloody countries are.
There's one that's a complete universe with about 62,000 or so planets in it.
So you could go out there and never get to the end. Never. Yeah. You could. The problem is, I think it's another thing, not afterlife, but second life. And you could go in. That's it. People are moving in there, and they're living. Now they're existing where they are, but they're going in like the Oasis to go to live, to go to play, to go to meet, to go to greet, and some of them in that film, the Oasis. The ones that had used up their credits and their tokens had to go to work in the game to build the areas for the other players, because like Minecraft, these areas don't, unless it's built by AI, don't just appear. There's builder architects out there planning landscapes and moonscapes and adventures and traps and all the rest of it. Somebody has to build the imaginary in a virtual realm for you to go escape to. It's real. It's more real for an awful lot of people than reality. And so, do you go escape? Do you go play? Or do you go work? You can go work and earn and be a star. I keep on saying to my lad, please stop being the user. Go be the creator. Yeah. If you're going to spend that amount of time, stop spending and start investing. And now there are ways of monetizing that I would advise as a business person. If you're going to do it, look to be the player, in the sense of be the player and win and earn and be the showman, as opposed to pressing little buttons and getting blown up.
Well, the interesting thing is that what you're talking about is another hierarchy that's being set up, and it replicates the real world extremely so, because you've got the same kind of issues and the same problems. That there are some that have more and there's some that have less, and there was a kind of curve that you get. That if you're on the rise, you could be earning more and more and more, but if you suddenly join in the whole system on the downside, you're basically, it's going to flatline at a certain point, and you'll never generate any income from that kind of thing. But it is. I know that there used to be, I'm not sure if it's a PlayStation 2 advert. No, I know we're talking quite a few years ago, but it used to be that you'd see these images of these people in slums virtually saying how they'd been champions in the world. They'd achieved all these goals, but in reality, they hadn't achieved anything. In fact, their lives were so bad that they needed some form of escapism. And you could suddenly see that in that same virtual world, if they're not careful, they could end up being slaves to that system, because the same protocols will actually be applied. And there would be some kind of form of slavery. If you're being forced to work and you get into debt and it goes the bad way, you could find yourself being slaved into there and not being able to get out. So there's a sinister side to that whole area as well, I think, which is why I think it's interesting watching back to the sci-fi thing, because those ideas are explored. Even way back in the likes of the Twilight Zone in the 60s, they would have explored some of those ideas, and now we're seeing it played out in the kind of games that we're actually seeing at the moment, which I think is actually quite scary, because I know that when you look at the world around you and you kind of go, right, how do I interact in the world around us? And we, in this particular last year or so, have been forced to stay within closed doors. We almost could be on a spaceship that's going to Mars or going to Jupiter or something, purely because we're confined to the corridors of our homes or the rooms of our homes or whatever little outside bits we have, because we're not allowed to interact with other people outside other than through screens. I mean, if you think of 2001 Space Odyssey, some of the characters were up there. There's somebody going up to, no, I think he was on the sort of the spiral space station, and he was talking to his wife, and he was putting in a credit card, and they were appearing on a screen and having a chat like this, and he got to see his kids. And we're sitting there kind of going, here we are in 2021 doing exactly that with the technologies that we have at the moment, just to be able to keep connected, even to someone that's only a few miles away from where we are at the moment. I mean, that in itself is quite scary. So we're all looking forward, and we know that during the conversations we've had that anytime now we'll be out, anytime now we'll be out. And here we are, 75 episodes later, we're still in that kind of environment. But at least we get a chance to talk to people, and I think that's what the social interaction is really all about. I mean, Dylan, in what you're doing, because tell us a little bit about your experience of working with us, because in a way, there's something similar in that kind of story that Garvin was talking about, working online. You're now working sort of online and interacting with us. So tell us a little bit about your experience of doing that. How did you find that? And how did it compare to the gameplay that you're doing?
I think, luckily for me, in what I've been doing with editing, it's mostly going to be, you're not going to have that much interaction apart from like meetings and stuff anyway, because it's all going to be I'm going to be on the computer constantly. So I think being online, more than it helped with my work, I think it helped with, it's just like, again, interaction we were talking about earlier. It's more just working with others, and kind of we have our meetings in the morning and at 4:30, and the ones I think later on are probably the most helpful for me. I think Rebecca and Scott, the other interns, found the same, where we would show all of our work together and no one held back. It was like, yeah, that's crap.
There's no holding back. It's rip you a new one.
Exactly, and I think that's the best way to go about it. It's not, there's no oh, that's good when it's not. You can't have that realistically. So I think having that online, because I think when you're in person with people, there's a certain, you hold back a bit more. I think at least I do. I don't know about you two. I've heard Garvin sometimes be like, nope.
No, Garvin doesn't hold back. Garvin's full blast. We have to turn all the levels down.
I'm just getting ready.
We're ranking everything up. We have to turn him right down just to be able to stay at the same level.
When the speed of my voice is increasing and the velocity and the volume, and I'm either getting excited or I'm about to explode.
I've seen it.
Oh yeah, well, I don't know if it was all.
Weeks.
I suppose once in a while, it's that's my problem, and that's what it always has been. I need a mirror on myself. That's a couple of. It's like the film Precog in Mission Impossible. It's not Mission Impossible. It was what's that?
Minority Report.
Minority Report. The precogs.
Yeah.
I need a bit of precog in front of me to go. You're just about to do this. That's how it's going to, come out. You're getting faster. What are you doing? Stop that. Wind back. Because these are normal people and they're not able for this. Nobody is able for this. You're not even able for this if it mirrored back to yourself. So I don't have that precog. I'm spending years trying to stop myself doing that and be aware of others and what they see and hear, which is me. But no, there's no filter. Filter's off. It's starting to get momentum. I'm processing, and I keep on saying to people, I process on the outside. I'm arriving at what it is I'm trying to say. I don't know what it is at the beginning, but I just chucked a couple of sentences out there to start to get me going, and I will get to the answer. And the poor Interns and George have witnessed this on a daily basis. I'm shutting in when I'm ready. I'm throwing the coal on that steam engine that George talks about, and then when I get to that level of steam, I do the Back to the Future, and it sort of takes off at warp power. It just went from steam to warp factor 5. People on the outside that are not close to the inner circle are going, what the hell is going on over there? There's someone screaming their head off at 90 miles an hour at these poor people, and they're frightened. They're like bunny rabbits in the headlights around them. They're not even talking. Some of them are shaking. I think some of them wet themselves. And then they'll run away afterwards, or there'll be a little, beep out with them or something, but they won't answer back because that could set them off on another one. I don't learn as much as I could learn if I just threw out open-ended questions, maybe get an answer. No. Still not doing it, still can't do it. And I'm frightening the bejesus out of people left, right and centre. And I don't think I'm going to change anytime soon. I haven't learnt my lesson. I can't.
Well, the interesting thing is that every time we switch on the record button on these cameras, you slow down. You slow down to a real good, gentle place. And your words, people actually listen. They're kind of going, oh, I can listen.
What people? What users are we talking about, George?
You're
working in precog space. You must be working 3 years from now going, yep, these people are listening and going, I can't even find them.
I think they will be. They will be.
They'll be out there soon enough.
But we are slowing down, which I think is really good. Whereas I noticed that in some of the meetings that we've had, you do go very, very, very fast and people can't quite sort of jump in. But in these sessions, you've slowed down even more so than when we have our normal kind of 4:30 little sessions. And I think that's pretty good, because then the audience, when we do build it up, and they will get there, get to see that other side of you that they haven't had a chance to get yet. So maybe what we should do is switch on your recording.
The weird thing is, I'm not watching. We keep on saying we might go into TikTok. We probably will at some stage. We have to figure out the how and what the look and the feel is. But the little snippets that sneak into my streaming on my phone they might be Bitcoin things and Jordan Peterson's giving a talk. But the Jordan Peterson stuff is snips from the past, and it's just maybe a lecture he gave, and it's cut down to 15 seconds, 30 seconds of something, and it's a soundbite. But then there's a bunch of other people who are going, you have 15 seconds to talk at 90 miles an hour as fast as humanly possible to fit as much in. And I'm now actually recognising what I love in the language of Seinfeld is I'm a fast talker. I'm a loud, fast talker. I don't like low talkers or slow talkers because I'm tripping up waiting for them to finish, or I can't bloody hear them. There's no fear of not hearing me. And your problem is you have to record it and slow it back down to find out what the hell I said, because keeping up is the problem.
Right. One of the things that happens is that when you talk, everybody kind of goes back.
That's because I'm usually 6'6" and looming forward as well.
No, it's because they're being blasted into they kind of splat on there, right? When people talk low, everybody leans in to hear them because they can't quite hear them. And that's done deliberately. And it keeps them... most people, when they're actually listening, actually go in.
I'm going, what are these? I can't hear you.
People.
What are you saying? Speak up, enunciate to the back of the hall. There's an audience. It just happens to be not in the room. It's on the planet. It's listening. That you keep on saying, get that sound right. Jerry Seinfeld, that's what he loved. It was these characters, the low talker, and the whole rip and the whole show was... all you could hear was, and it wasn't everyone was leaving. It's just no one understood, no one heard. Anyone that did heard their version of what they thought they heard, which was not the same. 5 people in the room, none of them heard the same thing or interpreted it. This is the game. They always say enunciate, pronunciate. Bring everyone in. It's not go down, because I was always tall at the discos. So chatting up the girls at discos is I had a bunch of 5'5" mates. I was the albino basketball player in plain sight, and I had to bring the conversation up to me because otherwise it was 6 heads and I was left out. If the girls were down there with the boys, then I had to break in, raise the volume, fast talk, entertain, rip them a new one, separate them, and then take control of who gets what girl, who goes dancing. So you had to play the game. You had to get that. Do you want to dance in before anyone else did? And if you didn't get the what do you want to dance in? You got to get those little jokes. You had to compete for attention to then get you want to get the dance in. Otherwise, there was this noise level below you that relationships were forming, and you were going, "What did he say? What did he say? Who?" No. Take control, bring it to you, move the conversation, bring it up a level, change the pace, and then everyone else has to keep up.
But isn't that the problem? Because what you've just now said is that there were relationships developing below, and
but they were down there low talking, leave them at it. They wouldn't be able
but they were
for
still,
it anyway.
But their relationships were actually developing. That's what you said. They were developing relationships, so you had to bring them up. So they had to compete.
I had to give them a choice of a lesser of two evils in most cases, because what they didn't realise was those lads you don't want to know. they're the quick in or the quick in and quick outs. I was the long haul player. You know, I went long game. You know, you can feck up for a while with that bunch. You'll learn your lesson soon enough. You'll be back to me.
Well, I think. Well, I mean, it's interesting because we were watching one of the shows this morning, and my mum suddenly said, "Why is he talking about burger baps?" Going, "Where did you get the burger bap from? He didn't mention anything about burger baps." Oh, I thought that's what he said. Just went on eating her porridge, and that's all.
No,
she
is that
heard.
me, or I hope that was somebody else?
That was you.
All right, George. What did I say? What did I say that was burger bap related?
I have no idea, because she sat there for a couple of minutes, sort of pondering on it before she actually said, "Did he say burger baps? What's burger baps got to do with it?"
And that's actually what we like. If people
idea.
get to see these shows or listen, there's not. If we don't know what we're going to say next, there's no bloody way they're going to predict it. You know, so it's the element of the unknown, that little surprise something. There'll be a certain amount of parameter that you're going to have a story, you're going to give a little business lesson, you're going to do some sort of reflection, you're trying to inject your personality into it, you're trying to extract theirs out of it. If there's a guest, we're going to find your personality, Dylan. You don't know it yet, we're going to break you and rebuild you.
Well, if we go back to sci-fi just a touch, and then we won't be in sci-fi. What was interesting yesterday is I have to do a written piece for this weekend, and I actually interviewed my sister because she was a shepherd, and we went through the social connections of sheep. Now I'm thinking about do androids dream of electric sheep? Yeah. And that's where the idea came from there. So there's a connection to, and it was just fascinating, just hearing her stories about, the battle she had with these sheep and being headbutted with and being left with a bloody nose with one, and all the other kind of crazy stuff. But I got a really good interview from her, and I went, right, there's my story. She just was reminiscing about certain things from the past, and that's reality. It's just that she was out in the green fields and the pastures and all that kind of stuff. And I thought that was kind of fascinating, just sort of actually getting a chance to interview somebody and just take notes down the old-fashioned way and just listening to them and seeing what they had to say and let them unravel their story. That's the key thing. That's what we probably have to do more of is listen to people telling their stories. So we need to listen to
go on, Dylan. You got to get in. You got to get in. What's your story, Rory?
Do you have a sheep story or a
electric dreams?
I don't
particularly have a sheep story now.
Oh, no. I've got one for you now, because I'm going to go back for a second, because we touched on Star Trek. And the weird thing is, on Star Trek, they were going on their voyage of discovery, but they had the holodeck. They had the escapism in AOR or IOR, wherever the hell it is. They went off and could go anywhere in the universe, creating the holodeck and going for a holiday. And it could be a fight, it could be an adventure, it could be relaxation. You've got the holodeck, where are you going?
Yeah, I always get, whenever I'm in meetings with you or anything, it's always the deep questions. I'm like deep, life-changing, and I'm sitting here like not expecting it. It was like one minute we're talking about masking fluid, and the next it's like, so what are your dreams? And it's like, wait, what? It's like processing it.
And that's the great thing about it. You're going, and that's the power of the 6 degrees of separation. You're going, how do you jump from this to that? How did we go from shaking a stick in a cave in her underpants to go to basically flying drone helicopters on Mars. You know, it's a journey of knowledge, a journey of dreaming, a journey of manifestation, of ideation, of if you can dream it, it can be made possible, or it can be, you know, put back together some version of it. You know, I do actually. There's the thing. What's your views on ancient aliens or mythology, or do you believe the pyramids are 800, or what's the one to the front, the Sphinx? There's new signs out there saying it's 800,000 years old. We're basically with monkey hair, you know, 50,000 years ago. So, do you believe we are seeded? Do you believe in evolution? Do you believe in aliens?
You know, I think I more want to believe than, I don't know if I necessarily believe. I feel like I'm one of those where it's like, maybe there's something out there, and I want there to be something out there more than I believe there to be something out there.
You've listened to Area 52, the show. We want
actually, he's just given us the tagline that's on the X-Files poster with the alien. I want to believe. That's what was in there.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention, hadn't even. That's probably just built into me somewhere. That was probably in my subconscious somewhere.
So indirectly, that says we don't want to be alone in the universe. Yeah,
definitely. I think so anyway.
No, do you believe they're under the sea?
It'd be boring if there wasn't.
Yeah.
There needs to be something, doesn't there?
Well, that's it. And if there isn't, it doesn't matter. I suppose when Columbus left one land and went to the other, he expected to find a bunch of people on the other side. Or maybe the expectation is there's someone on the other side. There's someone out there. Because there's as many stars in the sky as there's grains of sand on the planet. There's more than we can ever count. And the maths says there should be statistically. But the maths also says we're already an impossibility of circumstance and probability to exist in the first place. Now, the maths also says is it's too bloody perfect. It has been created, we've been seeded, and we've been placed. You can't get a moon at that distance, this distance from a star, at that speed, to create that tidal current, to then... So I'm very towards conspiracy.
There is actually an architect. There's
the architect. And
there's an architect, yeah.
And it's like that thing, like it's that the phi, the number again. It's the maths is too perfect, but we're only learning the language, and the language is not the languages of English and all the rest of it. The language of the universe is maths.
Well, I think one of the problems that we tend to have is that we have what we like. Okay, you send the Voyager out in 1970 something or other with a gold disc on it. And you kind of go, there you go, that'll tell you all about us. And they get this gold disc and they kind of go, what do? Do you eat it? You know, how do we play this? You know, they don't even know we play this gold disc. We put there's some funny squiggly lines on there. And they're meant to know that you need a record deck. Well, where's the record deck? You know, hang on, has the stylus broken? And now we're not even using those things. We're you know, when the information comes back to us, we're using digital stuff. We've given up the record player. We've given up the tape recorder. You know, when they come back, they kind of go, they'd send us a disc back, and nobody would know how to use it, even on the planet, because we've changed our technology so much. You know? So if we keep changing all the time, how's anybody out there? Dylan has actually just now said that one of the problems that he has with us is trying to decipher how to work into the conversation, because we keep going from one thing to another. How are the aliens meant to do that? You know, they kind of go, hang on, I thought no, hang on, we've got that wrong. Oh, there's strange characters here. You know,
I ain't going back to the beginning. Because I took the first two words, but the last was the last word fluid.
Fluid.
And that's what we're doing. We're flowing. We're on the flow. It's not static. It's not ice. It hasn't frozen over. We're going with the flow, and we're seeing where it goes. We're fluid in thought, and that's the whole. You know, it's fluid. We don't want a conversation that's structured and stale and staid, and because that is the interview. There's your question. There's your answer. Yes, no, gone, over. We're meant to be leading all interviews with open, closed questions, but if you don't take the hook, it goes back to closed again. Your first few answers to us was, I know you answered the question, but you were a fantastic politician. You answered it, but didn't say anything.
That's funny. I actually hate politics, though.
Well, you make a good one.
Snap out of that. I better snap out of that. No, because I remember you asked me about sci-fi movies, and I'm like, obviously I know a lot of sci-fi movies. Like I would have, your Blade Runners and all, I would have been a massive fan of, and I use love Star Trek. I haven't watched a lot of it. I've only watched I think one or two of the movies back in the day, but yeah, that's something I think you're even watching. I think there's a program now, isn't there? That you're
No, see, the
watching.
gas thing is for Star Trek for us was literally the journey
1965.
of technology. Because
Yeah.
we're actually on a journey of self-fulfillment from the early Star Treks, which introduced the mobile phone, the medical scanner, nanotechnology, biotechnology, the holodeck, AR, IR. You got to go back to I think it's the late 60s. It might be
65 to 68.
Right.
I think
When
it
you
was,
watch it with technology in mind and see what they're doing. Because literally, I don't think there's a piece on it that hasn't self-fulfilled.
Yeah. They're even trying to do the transporter to
And that's what they're saying. The
matter
journey
from
for
one plate to another.
instantaneous travel that's the thing. No, the beam. If you watch the carbon, what's that film again? Alter carbon. The concept is we've got data centers, and we had it in a lot of our shows going. The beam me up and beam me down is there. It's just not beaming up and down matter. It's beaming up and down the ones and zeros that make up intelligence, who you are, brain waves. It's beaming video up and down. It's beaming. If we captured who we are in terms of our, and there's a lot of films out there, but they're now saying that journey is happening. We can get a plug in and we can move things around. They get Elon Musk has a monkey playing tennis or something at the moment but using their mind and the plug-in tech to move objects. If you beam up and beam down the intelligence and capability, you can move it into a clone, or you can move it into a 3D print of something, or maybe a robot that you build that can move. Because we can move robotic parts at a distance from here. If you got that monkey to move the Mars rover, he can do it if he has the right plug-in. So therefore, we're the monkeys moving objects at a billion miles away via the waves being beamed up and down. We're just not that matter effect yet. They're working on that. But maybe the matter doesn't matter anymore, because every alien movie out there was about the mind and not the body. So you're on that journey. Go see Star Trek. Go learn a few things, because Elon Musk and the boys are they're naming that ship Enterprise when it happens. They're going there.
I think one of the things that we're all talking about materialistic aspects, and nobody's actually talked about the kind of spiritual side of it, because there is a spiritual element also within the sci-fi stuff that's being there. And quite often it's because we are so stuck in this material world. We have to see it, we have to feel it, we have to, before we believe it, we miss out on the possibility that they're actually here, kind of shouting at us, kind of going, "George, I'm here. Will you just turn around and have a conversation with me? George, come on. For goodness sake, And that's probably what the problem is that they're actually here talking to us, and they can't get us to respond to them because we haven't got the facilities to be able to recognise.
The thing here is, George, they could be doing little jiggy dances on TikTok and we wouldn't have a bloody notion, because we can't tell the difference between the human race and that bunch now, and they'd have to step their game up a bit just to be seen and heard now on our media. That's the craziness of it. You were a grey, you were a lizard, you were something else. You wouldn't blink twice if you walked down the street in a chicken outfit in this planet now. We've been dumbed down and made immune to, you're going to have, alien, you're going to have to step up your game. Ripley has sliced and diced you all a new one through Aliens 1 to 5. Predator, my daughter could kick the holy bejesus out of that. They gotta be more armed coming forward for the likes of us, because we've thought of every bloody possibility they could ever come up with and dress up with, from robot to you know what. If they turn up half naked, grey or otherwise, we're just gonna smack them over, get on the ship and go ourselves. They gotta step up a game. The robotic dogs, the Boston Scientific and that one there, no. Yeah, but even the Daleks, when we were looking on the good old day, it was a dustbin with a couple of sticks sticking out the side on a row on wheels. Now later on they copped on and took the wheels away and said they could float. So that gave them a little bit more like believability, because otherwise you run up behind them, just tip the bins. Every little Anton, Mikko, Janko I ever grew up with as the lads, we used to go around knocking down bins, and you're going. A couple of Daleks made an appearance near us, so you'd have them turned over in the morning, you'd have opened up the tin can, and you would have chucked them out into the bin and got inside yourself and went off, we are the Daleks, and you're having a bit of crack. Step up your game, aliens. Though. We're well prepared.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between us in the West. We feel that we have to get tin cans all around us, even spaceships. But if you look at the Eastern TV series, they're quite often the opposite. There's an entity that comes that can materialize in front of you and do all kinds of stuff and then vanish before your eyes. Whereas we still have to have the tin can before we can actually do that and try and turn it into a robot. And they're kind of going, you don't need robots where we come from. So,
well, there you go. Will it be a ship that arrives, or is it going to be... Why would you bother with a ship if you have the full space to instantaneously travel between multiverses? You don't need a fucking ship. If you can do that, you just pop yourself in and back out the other side, because mixing metal and matter is going to be a bit more complicated than not.
But the science that you're starting to see now is indicating it's more likely to be that, the multiverse type idea and flipping from one thing to another, than it is massive great big spaceships going between different planets the way that we keep thinking. We're still thinking about the lorry loads of stuff, and we just have to turn them into spaceships to get to the next asteroid so we can mine the thing. And maybe that's all the wrong thing. We should be thinking about something totally different. We are probably getting to the end of this show, so we probably have to wrap it all up now and draw it to some kind of conclusion. So we started off with art masking fluid, which kind of led us on to the kind of green screen effect and into sci-fi. We did try and sort of bring it right back again. We were talking about androids and electric sheep at one point, and then Star Trek turned up in the middle of it as well. We started to look at whether or not do we need to have the tin can to wrap ourselves around in so that we can go out into space, or do we just need to dematerialise and materialise somewhere else, which is probably the best idea, but we haven't yet got that technology. More than likely, we have the aliens shouting in our ear, but we just can't hear because we're not tuned into them properly. But from Garvin's perspective, they need to tune into us, not the other way around. But that's maybe, I don't know, maybe, who's got the superior intelligence at the moment? Probably Garvin at the moment. So they have to do as he's asking them to do. Otherwise, they'll clear off somewhere, or he'll make them clear off. So we've come to the end of our show, and I think we should stop babbling on there. Dylan, it's been fantastic having you with us over the last 10 weeks or so, working on the projects. We wouldn't have achieved what we've done without you being there, along with Rebecca and Scott over the last few weeks. It's been great having the experience working with you from our perspective as well. So, we hope that you'll keep in touch with us, and hope that
definitely, yeah.
We'll somewhere along the line, our paths will all cross, and we'll be making films or doing something in a kind of creative world together, digitally, which I think would be fantastic. So, Garvin, would you like to say a few words just before we close the show?
I'm going to just chuck in, do electric sheep dream? Yes, they bloody do. They have nightmares, and that's what they know what's coming down the line. So, I'm no sheep. I do dream. I'm your nightmare. Wake up, or I get you. Take care. See you soon.
Thanks a lot. Bye for now.
Hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and click on the bell for notifications.